They're expecting 650,000 visitors in Kansas City alone. 650,000 visitors with only 65,000 hotel rooms. They know they need the short-term rentals. I'm learning how much other people do not know and don't understand our industry. And a lot of it is the fear of the unknown, so that they're putting in regulations and policies because of that fear. And I want to take this opportunity so that we can educate in the right way, and we can demonstrate to the cities how important short-term rentals are to the economics of the area, to tourism.
In a lot of cases, the right information is just not getting to the right people. It's the wrong information that's getting to the right people, and opinions are being formed before they really understand what's going on.
What I thought was really great about what you did was you weren't hesitant at all to reach out to the OTAs and get them involved.
The worst that could happen, people tell me no, they're not going to support the initiative. But instead, it has been absolutely the opposite reaction. And everybody looks at me like, oh my gosh, yes, I'm in. Tell me what you need.
We'll start the show in just a minute, but first, a word from our premier brand sponsor, Track.
My name is Billy Widener. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer for Brett Robinson Vacation Rentals. We love the flexibility that Track provides us, the horsepower, the ability to customize the different experiences for our customers. Track makes a lot of those things possible for us. Brett Robinson and Track partnered in the development of derivative pricing. The other features of Track made it a great decision, but this was one that we needed to operate our business in an efficient manner. So we partnered with the development team, and they allowed us to provide that level of flexibility back into our rate management strategies. One of the new products that we've added in the last 2 years since I arrived was Track Digital Marketing Services. And what Track Digital Marketing Services brings to the table is deep knowledge about not only the history of vacation rentals, but current information and trends that they're seeing across multiple markets. They use that information to advise us and help us make the best decisions with our marketing dollars on a regular basis. The amount that we budget toward that has been able to be modified significantly. We're projecting similar results to what we had last year with a budget reduction of more than 40%. We went through a very extensive process to evaluate multiple property management systems. And what we got to at the end of the day was that the level of professionalism, functionality, and the flexibility of that product to allow us to customize it in our way made the decision to stay with Track the best decision that could come out of that process.
Ready to take your operations to the next level? Get a free market assessment, a $400 value that gives you a clear picture of how your business stacks up against the competition. You'll meet one-on-one with a Track expert who will evaluate your performance in the context of your market, uncover gaps and opportunities, and deliver 3 to 5 actionable insights tailored to your business. This is your chance to find out what's working, what's not, and where you can improve based on real market data. Click the link in the description to get started today. Welcome to Alex and Annie, the Real Women of Vacation Rentals. I'm Alex.
And I'm Annie.
And we are here today for the September 1st of the month bonus episode. And we've got some big announcements here. But to kick it off, we've got Tyann Marcink, who is a legend within vacation rentals, I would say, but is also the owner, founder of Branson Family Retreats and Missouri House, and a great friend of ours. So Tyann, it's so good to see you.
Thank you so much for having me on here. And it's wonderful to sit and talk to you after I just saw you a couple days ago at the Women's Summit. So it's like, I knew this was coming up, and I'm like, okay, don't talk about what we're going to talk about on the podcast. Got to keep it a surprise for Alex. Annie knows what's coming, but Alex knows nothing.
Yeah, keep her surprised. Alex loves to be surprised. This is great.
I love a good surprise. And I think I'm super excited to dive into the new venture that you've got going on, Tyann. But in the spirit of surprises, I think we start off by letting Annie take the stage and share a little bit about her big surprise today.
Yeah, so I'm really excited. I am joining the ranks and the wonderful world of independent working for myself. I don't even know how to say it. I'm just out on my own. So
free range Annie.
And yeah, exactly. Free range Annie. That's very scary. So as of today, I am no longer employed by a company. I am employed by myself. I am the founder and STR strategist is what I'm calling myself, my strategist for Annie and Co. And so Annie and Co. will be offering consulting for property managers, for independent contractors around the business, for various suppliers in the industry, lots of things going on. So I'm super excited to dig in and kind of be out there and again, be free range Annie. So everybody can go to my website at anniecosolutions.com and check things out. And we'll leave some breadcrumbs in the show notes for everybody to go check it out. But I'm really excited. And I know that that's going to give Alex and I an opportunity to expand upon some of the things we've been wanting to do with the podcast as well. So more to come in that area. But yeah, so that's my big announcement.
Yeah, super,
Yeah,
super exciting. Super exciting.
I am so proud for you, Annie. This is amazing.
Thank you. And I appreciate all your support as I've been putting this together kind of behind the scenes and calibrating my belief system that I can actually do it. So it's been great.
Yeah, you 1000% can. You've been in the industry for a very long time and you have tons of connections and you understand how to connect the dots, as we like to say. So I think this is going to be a really fulfilling and successful journey for you. But just coming off of the women's conference, we talked a lot about this at the show. And I know you got to share a little bit as you were talking to people about what you were getting ready to do. But I think you asked me this question when I took my big leap about a year and a half ago. But what was the decision like? I mean, I know it's not an easy one to make when you've worked for a company for a long time, but maybe tell us a little bit about how you did make that decision to be free range, Annie.
I feel like a chicken now. Honestly, I think it was really just finding the confidence that, we've talked about it on the show a lot, that kind of all your roads lead you to where you're supposed to be headed. And it's just recognizing those signs along the way. And I started seeing more and more signs that were saying you need to do this. And so, thankfully with kind of our, I think we learned the term last week of like, we have our posse, but someone coined it as board of directors. And I've got a really great board of directors. You two sit on that board to help me sort of understand what it is that I'm capable of. And I thought, I've been doing this for 30 plus years. I've done property management, I've done OTAs, I've done channel management, I've done a little bit of everything. And I thought, now is a perfect time. I turned 55 last Friday. So that was a big milestone birthday. And I thought, well, if I'm going to reinvent myself, Annie 5.5 was exactly the right time to do it. So I'm hopeful that all the knowledge that I've sort of amassed in this little noggin of mine is something that people want to tap into. But it was really about recognizing the signs and having a core group of people around me to help me recognize my value and my worth to the greater industry and how I could better support people and make our industry stronger and better.
Awesome. Well, it will be for sure with you being able to touch more companies. So definitely excited. And of course, we will continue to track your journey as this moves along and certainly excited about all the things we can do with the podcast. And actually, this month, we've got Scale Italia and the Italian Women's Conference coming up that all three of us will be going to, along with some of our other girlfriends that are going to be joining us over there overseas. So that's going to be an exciting time for all of us to get together again. I feel like we've seen each other and talked more probably in a 30-day period than we have in a year, but it's a lot of good energy going around.
Yeah.
I think that trip you would got our ladies, are we going to be the free range women as we
Free range women of vacation rentals.
That's dangerous overseas. Oh boy.
Oh my gosh.
I guess everybody
Yeah.
needs to, follow along on the Instagram on our journey and see what happens.
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
when I look at things whenever I travel, it's not an adventure until you get lost.
Oh, well, if you're with
True.
us,
You're
Tyann, I
gonna
can
get
guarantee
lost.
you you're going to get lost. That's Annie and I's forte. So
We
don't
don't know
give
how
any
to
of the
read a
maps to
map,
us.
well, the good news is Tyann's very organized and has all of our emergency contacts lined up in case we do get lost. So
Thank God.
we're set. We're set. So why don't we again, my journey is exciting, but I mean, Tyann, you've been on a really great journey, and why don't we just bring people up to speed to where you're at now and then talk about your big initiative that we wanted to really dig into for this episode.
Yeah, so everybody knows me pretty much as the queen of guest experience for Touch Day digital guidebooks. And earlier this year in January, I chose my word of the year to be cultivate. And what that meant was to me, I wanted to cultivate more within my own family, within my own business, within my own community. So I stepped back from the Touch Day team and I said, hey, you guys, continue your trajectory on creating more and more features and an amazing product. I absolutely love the product, but I need to cultivate more on my own and where I'm supposed to be at. And I thought that meant that I would then have a little bit of free time to learn how to play the piano again. And I would be spending more time with my kiddos. I only have one left at home. He just started his senior year this last week. And instead, I looked at it and I said, oh, there's a state alliance that I'm going to go ahead and run. Oh, there's some legislation we want to put through. And oh, wait, there's this thing called the World Cup that is coming to Missouri and as one of the host cities in Kansas City. So it looks like I'm cultivating not just my own business and within my own family, but also within my own state. And then from there, this big initiative that I thought of as, hey, this is how I can help my area. I'm like, wait, there's actually a step 2, 3, and 4 so that I can cultivate and change the world from right here in Missouri.
Wow, yeah, that's isn't it amazing too? Like I feel similar experience of when I started my own business of like you have all these grand plans for what you're going to focus on, but then somehow when you open up your mind to having a little bit of availability to think and putting yourself out there, a lot of things you had never even thought come across your desk will. And it's exciting though, right? Because I mean, I bet a year ago this was not even in your periphery of what you would be expected to be working on right now. So it's got to be exciting and definitely something very different than the regular day to day that you've had for many years.
It is. And it's also exciting that I've been able to lean on all the connections that I've made over the past decade of being on the supplier side of the industry while growing my own property management business. Because I hit 18 years hosting and managing this summer. So
Mhm.
with all the connections and experience, I'm like, you know what? If I don't do this, who will? And I'm like, let's try it because it's like, I don't think why should we do this? I think more of why not? And
Mhm.
what's the worst that could happen? The worst that could happen, people tell me no, they're not going to support the initiative. But instead, it has been absolutely the opposite reaction. And everybody looks at me like, oh my gosh, yes, I'm in. Tell me what you need. And it's been amazing working with all of these people and all of the pieces falling into place perfectly.
Mm.
So
I
you and
love
I
that.
talked about it and it does seem like it's a really long way away, but I think that being able to have a plan for something that's such a large event. It's happening in multiple markets, kind of not simultaneously, but some of them will be simultaneous and then there'll be a culmination. I think we figured out the last one's going to be like in the New York area. So it's like we understand New York is a challenge for short-term rentals. So, just really trying to navigate some of that. But what I thought was really great about what you did was you weren't hesitant at all to reach out to the OTAs and get them involved. And so why don't you tell us a little bit about how you got that in front of the right people? And, I was on a call with the booking.com team recently and they were mentioning working with you on it and they're very excited about it. And I think it's like that's an initiative that typically would have come from the OTA side. Like they would have put something together to reach out to like hotel partners, but who was doing it on the VR side? And I think what you've done is great and you've included them in it and they're very excited about it. So why don't you talk a little bit about how you navigated that relationship?
Yeah, so it all started actually in Kansas City. And this winter, the city of Kansas City, realized that because a combination of stricter regulations that they had put on within their city and the issue that we're having in Missouri with property taxes, that they were going to struggle with having enough lodging for the World Cup visitors next year. They're expecting 650,000 visitors in Kansas City alone. Now, Kansas City is going to be one of the smaller host cities. They're all across the United States besides Canada and Mexico. And 650,000 visitors with only 65,000 hotel rooms. And you can't just build a hotel really quickly either to take care of this gap of that. So they know they need the short-term rentals. And they had reached out to the Kansas City Alliance and said, hey, we are about 500 listings short of what we need. Will you help us bring in new hosts to the area? And the gal who leads the alliance there in Kansas City, Susan Brown, is actually my VP on the state alliance. So Susan said, hey, Tyann, is this something we can work with the city to do? I'm like, absolutely. But here's my terms. I want to do this in the right way, that we're not just trying to get as many hosts as possible and then something goes wrong because they don't understand just the basic foundations of hosting folks in their own house and just the basic things of hospitality you don't think about until something goes wrong. And I said, if we're going to do this, we're going to put together an initiative to educate people and work with the city to do this. And as I began to think about it, I'm like, you know what? This is amazing for an alliance to do it because it is the OTAs who normally do it. When I reached out to Airbnb, they said, well, we have our Airbnb Academy. We're going to do that. I'm like, no, this is going to be better coming from an alliance. So it doesn't look as if the OTAs are just looking to rake in more cash for themselves. We don't need that. And having an alliance who really understands the education, the industry, and everything just puts better force behind it. So I reached out first to Airbnb Policy, who we've been working very closely with at the state alliance level with our legislation that we're pushing through the Missouri House and Senate. And so Laura there, she goes, yeah, I'll talk to folks. And then I reached out to Verbo Policy and talked to them, and they said, oh my gosh, we've been trying to do this for so many years, and you've got this all figured out. How did you do it? I'm like, well, I enjoy these things. I understand these things. And I've got experience doing it. So it just a weekend, and here you go. But that's just the way my brain works. And then I realized I want Booking. I need booking.com to be in on this also, because that is one of the ways the Europeans will be booking, because that's their big OTA. But in
Right.
Missouri, that's not our big OTA at all. So I posted on LinkedIn, and one of my friends, Lauren Madewell, she commented, which then brought the algorithm. The algorithm brought it into the feed of the Airbnb supply guy for our region, who knows Lauren well. And he reached out to Lauren, say, hey, I want to get in on this. And Lauren said, sure. So she connected me. And so now I'm with Airbnb Supply as well, and talking to them about how they can even further support not just the initiative, but also our state alliance, because we need to bring more supply to the area for this event. And then I'm like, you know what? If I remember correctly, James Varley with Host Planet
That's what I
worked
was thinking about as you were
Mhm.
talking. Yeah.
Yeah, worked within FIFA's marketing back in 2022. So I
Yeah.
reached out to James. I said, hey, James, is there any way I can talk to you just a few minutes of your time to figure out, do you have any wisdom for me as I plan this, since you have worked closely with FIFA before? And he
Mhm.
said, yeah, I can do one better. I'm like, yes. He goes, why don't you get me a sponsor, and I will come over to the United States, to Kansas City, and talk in person to everybody about hosting during the World Cup, because he actually hosted in Qatar also.
Mm.
And then he goes, I also have a good contact at booking.com, not the right one for United States, but I'll still intro you. I'm like, perfect. Within like 3 days, I was connected with the right person at booking.com, and they said, yep, let's look at this and go for it. So our headline sponsors are Airbnb and booking.com. We also have Verbo on board. And then we also have particular tech companies that I've asked to be a part of this. And I was very specific in who I asked, because yes, I could ask all the big players, everybody that everybody sees all the time, and they're amazing because they do support advocacy, they support education, and I have friends in all of them. And I just want to say, if you're listening now, I did not leave you out because I don't like you. I love you so much, and I appreciate and am very grateful for all your support. But I also had to look at this from the supplier viewpoint, because I did run the events for Touch Day, and figuring out what events are we going to be a part of? How are we going to stretch that marketing budget across the whole year? And with this event, we are focusing on brand new hosts, those who have not hosted or just have hosted a little bit. And I wanted to make sure that there's a return on the investment of investing within this event. And what that meant with a new host is, if they're just going to have one listing or maybe just a couple rooms in their house, they're not going to need a lot of technology either. So I
Mhm.
wanted to make sure we have just basic technology and the basic everything, to make this as easy as possible for someone to come in and say, yes, let's hit easy button, and I'm using my air quotes because a lot of people think this is super easy, but it's more of, okay, what are the steps you need to take? So, with that, first person I reached out to, of course, is safety, Justin Ford, and just going to come in and talk about safety. And then I reached out to Nick Massey with Proper Insurance. And I said, Nick, I need you guys to come talk about your insurance policy and of how a regular homeowner's insurance policy does not cover this activity because people don't realize that. And I also want you to talk about accidental damage and liability because again, when you haven't hosted, you're not in the industry, you don't know what you don't know.
Exactly.
Yes. And then from there, I'm like, okay, we need to do stocking 101 because we've got Europeans coming to the Midwest. Here in the Midwest, this is how we make our tea. We take a mug and we put it under the faucet. And then we put it in the microwave and we put 1 minute and wait for the microwave to boil the water. And as we know, the Europeans, especially those of you listening right now, are just like, oh my gosh, no, you can't do that.
Cringing,
So
right?
I know, I know. So everybody in Kansas City who's going to host needs to know you must have a tea kettle. It doesn't matter if it's on the stove tea kettle or electric tea kettle. You've got to have a tea kettle for your host.
What about
So
just using a K-cup machine and just not putting a K-cup in it?
Not the British people would, they
That was not
wanna
even worse.
they
That's
wanna
what made my
boil their
tea.
water. Yeah, they wanna
yeah,
boil their
it's so
water.
bad. So I've
Yeah.
learned like from Heather Bayer, she travels with a tea kettle
Yep.
when she makes
Wow.
her tea because each type of tea has a different heat, different temperature that to get to for that tea to steep correctly. It's
Wow.
it's an entire science
It's an
thing.
art.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Yeah.
So post GPO, Jen Saxton is going to come talk about stocking your place, stocking 101. What are the basics you need? We have data led designs who are going to provide information on what's the basic design of what you can do with your home to make sure that your guests are comfortable. Have you thought about, is there a nightstand for both sides of the bed if the bed sleeps two people? All of these basic things that, once you've been in the industry in a while, it's second nature to do all this. But if not, you don't know what you don't know type thing. And I'm going to go as far as this is how you write a listing description. These are the things you have to have in your listing description. Best way to write your title and your photos. And then we'll have an entire morning of how to be a good neighbor. So, talking about what issues will you have with trash? How do you deal with them? What issues could you have with with noise, making sure you respect your neighbors and your family. What policies do you need to put into place? What questions are you going to get asked about check-in and check-out? And how do you align those with flight times? And James is going to talk about, okay, what is the actual itinerary of someone coming over? Because if they're coming over this far from Europe or South America, are they going to go to different cities? What is that going to look like? Do they want to explore further out? So through Touch Day, we'll have a digital guidebook. Then people can copy that with the area information that already has rules and policies and everything. And we have a partnership with a city councilwoman who's helping to sponsor the event as well. And then we're working on a partnership with the World Cup committee there in Kansas City. So it's just incredible. And that's step one, just only step one.
We'll be back in just a minute, but first, a word from our premier brand sponsor, Grand Welcome.
Hi, I'm Joseph Cox.
I'm Denise Turner, and we are franchise owners in multiple locations. We've been with Grand Welcome since 2021, so 4 years now.
We chose the franchise route just because it was so great that all of the back-end stuff can be handled by someone else. Really allows you to focus on the guest experience and your clients as well in taking care of their needs. The reason we chose Grand Welcome ultimately was the people and the experience that we had. The first few calls that we had with Grand Welcome, we really felt a connection to them, and their brand really fit what Denise and I were looking to create in our vacation rental business.
What we love most about Grand Welcome is having the support, knowing that there are people there behind us, pushing us to grow and to do better. And then just knowing that we have all of the technology and tools at our fingertips. Since working with Grand Welcome, we have expanded our territories. Last year in 2024, we purchased the Palm Springs and Santa Barbara territories. And then this year, we have just recently purchased Bend in Central Oregon and Winter Park in Grand County, Colorado. And we do have plans to grow future.
Grand Welcome really allows you to operate and run your own business by supporting and handling all of the back end things. They have a solid team and a solid system and practice in place already, so you're not recreating the wheel. And really, it's all of that knowledge and the things that they have built over time that supports franchisees to be able to focus on the properties, getting out to the properties and taking care of them without being tied down with all of the administrative processes behind the scenes.
We would definitely recommend Grand Welcome to others just because we know that the support is there. And so for those who are trying to do it on their own and having to deal with all of the things that go with that, for us, it just makes sense to have the support of the franchise behind us. It's a national company. So from a marketing standpoint, that really helps our business as well.
Click the link in the description to get a free growth hack analysis and a P&L evaluation. And make sure to tell them you heard about this offer on the Alex and Annie podcast. Yeah, no, there's a lot of details to be ironed out in the time leading up to this, which you've got just a little bit under a year at this point. But I'm curious, so the event starts on June 16th. And then the quarterfinal isn't until Saturday, June 11th. So, I mean, people are there for quite a while. When most people, especially ones from Europe, when they come over, are they staying for the entire thing? Or like, what does that look like for attendees going to this event?
So what we're expecting is people to come over for about 3 months, May, June, and July,
Wow.
right?
Wow.
Because they'll need to come in and get acclimated to the time zones, to the heat in Missouri,
Yeah.
and whatever the other climates are in the other host cities.
Yeah.
There's families coming over with the teams besides the fans as well. And if
Yeah.
you're coming that far, are you going to visit more than one host city? On top of that,
Mhm.
are you even going to win the lottery to be able to buy a ticket too? Because you got to put your name in a lottery to buy tickets. It's an entire process. So
Wow.
what this whole initiative is called, since I totally forgot to tell you that, this is the World Cup Hosting Crash Course.
Oh,
And the hosting crash course is going to be in November in Kansas City, November 14th and 15th. And the second part we're doing is we're actually going to make it into a video course so that people can be educated continuously up through 2026, leading up to it and afterwards. So this will all be evergreen content. Then we can just update the data. So I have Price Labs coming in to talk about the strategy on how to price your place, not necessarily how to use their technology, but how to create a strategy to price. And then also AirDNA is going to come and talk about, hey, what can you realistically make? What is it that you should look for in the number of nights that people are staying and the price range that you could do? And then we can just update those bookends of data as we go along so that we've got, yes, we're educating people now, but evergreen content to continue to educate as well. So that was step 2. Step 3 is that, you know what, we can't hold this to ourselves. And we need more host cities to do something like this. So I've started reaching out to the other host cities, their alliances, and said, hey, would you like to follow our blueprint? I'm already doing all the work on this. So what you can do is take the work that I've done and am doing and completely copy it. Do what it is that we're doing and then tweak it for your area. So bring in the speakers that you think will make the most impact on your area, or run the video course. But whatever you do is I want to see each host city take advantage of the education that we're putting out there.
yeah. Well, it makes sense because you don't want people to get all the way over here and they've got a stay of the next 2 to 3 months and it just be a disaster right from the start. And then they can't find anywhere to stay. I mean, like the stakes are pretty high, I would say. And I feel like this is replicatable for other types of sporting events, even outside of the World Cup. I mean, I think back to when the Super Bowl was in Phoenix a couple of years ago. I mean, the price gouging was just absolutely insane. And it was a lot of people that they had never rented their home before. And so they just put it up there and put it up for a crazy price. And I don't know how the reviews went, but I mean, I'm sure there's definitely things that, certainly could have been done better with it. But do you foresee being able to utilize this in other similar capacities, other sports related or event related?
Yeah, I've already had people talk about the Los Angeles Olympics that are coming up next. I've already talked to the Australian Short-Term Rental Alliance, ASTRA. They're watching what we're doing so they can replicate over there when they get the World Cup next. I mean, I'm really excited. The other host cities that have already joined the initiative are Mexico, so the country of Mexico. They've joined. Dallas, Texas has joined, and Atlanta, Georgia has joined already. And then I'm in talks with most of the others. There's a few alliances or a few host cities that I don't know who to reach out to. I've been researching to try to find an alliance or a leader in the area. So if anyone knows anyone who leads in the other host cities, please let me know. Love to talk to them about getting this initiative everywhere, because what I'm really excited, I'm excited about all the steps, but step 4 is pretty awesome, because the fact that we are going to be educating and now have the data to compare of areas that have education and areas that don't have education now gives us data to tell the story of what kind of difference education actually makes. We will have, yeah, I'm so excited. So I talked to Jamie Lane, Air DNA, and I said, Jamie, this is my idea. I want you to take the data and I want you to help me build this story, because we're now have this comparison. And he said, yeah, totally. So we'll be able to look at which city has the best increase in reviews, who got the most 5-star reviews, who got the most reviews that mention that they had a great experience or they had a really clean place. And in so doing, not only can we build this data story, we can also, dun, da, da, another announcement is the World Cup hosting challenge. So all of the cities against each other, and we're going to have some awards. So this is all sponsored by AirDNA, and I don't know what exactly the categories will be yet. I'm going to figure those out, but we're going to have a hosting challenge and then award the hosting challenge awards later next year after the World Cup. So getting everybody involved within this in some way or another.
Well, I think what's really exciting is that you've thought about the data and you've thought about how to, really tell a story, like a lasting story about it. I guess, do you think you're going to be able to utilize any of this kind of on the advocacy front? So I think that proving out that if you can get people educated, then they can be good stewards of not only the business, but also of their local market, and maybe do more short-term rental for smaller periods of time and help impact the local economy, but maybe not impact their neighbors.
Exactly. And, as I was doing the work in the legislation this past session in the spring and talking to the senators and representatives at the Missouri level, I'm learning how much other people do not know and don't understand our industry. And a lot of it is the fear of the unknown, so that they're putting in regulations and policies because of that fear and because of some outlier story that happened that they heard from their brother's best friend's cousin's ex-girlfriend's dog. Oh my gosh, this happened, so now it could happen in our area. And I want to take this opportunity so that we can educate in the right way, and we can demonstrate to the cities how important short-term rentals are to the economics of the area, to tourism, to the way that short-term rentals can be woven into the fabric of the economy now, of way things are. And they're supporting, people can support their families, they can support their neighborhoods, they can support their town, and with education and being done in a way that benefits everyone, how important it is. So Kansas City is relaxing their regulations during those 3 months of the World Cup so that more people can host, so they can fulfill the lodging needs. And what I would love for the outcome to be is that They relax the regulations, yes, but then they realize, hey, we don't need to make them as strict as they were. Let's put these relaxed regulations in permanently then, and then continue to monitor and how it works. That's one of the things I would love to see as the outcome of this.
And I'm wondering too, in a lot of these cities, do they have restrictions as far as the number of short-term rental permits that can be granted? And is that something that, say, you got a huge influx of people that signed up to do this, that they decide, well, I want to continue doing this? Could that be a problem in the future?
I don't know the regulations for all of the host cities, but I do know that some of the cities are as strict as a complete ban, like New York. Miami has extremely strict regulations as well. And then there's some areas that are very loose or no regulations. So in Kansas City, we're actually focusing on a 2-hour radius. And within that 2-hour radius, you've got some areas, a lot of areas that have zero regulations that people can do things. And then, for instance, one town, Parkville, Missouri, has already relaxed the regulations to say, hey, we want to make sure that everyone knows you are welcome to come stay in Parkville. And because they understand the economic benefits and they want that in their community. So I think the more towns that work to learn to understand how short-term rentals work, how they can support the short-term rentals in their area, and how we can support them, I think it's going to be better. And all that comes down to is education on both sides, not just educating the towns and the cities, but also educating the people who are hosting and talking about the things that they don't think about until something happens. And that's when they go to the Facebook groups and things blow up and everybody thinks, oh my gosh, short-term rentals are horrible. They should not be around at all. And instead, I want to change that story.
So you and I actually had a conversation about this over the weekend about specifically New York, because that's actually where I think the finals are going to be is in New York. And so we know that they have a total ban within New York City. And so like the outer edges of the area, so like more rural New York and New Jersey have sort of benefited from that. But I would think that they're still not going to be able to provide enough of it. So we talked about actually the ladies that we had on last year from Roar, who were the group that is kind of their advocacy group to kind of fight for fair regulations in the market. They haven't been able to accomplish anything. I think we all understand that, like, the hotel lobby is pretty powerful in New York. Do you foresee yourself going to like a community like New York that has a strict ban to be able to talk on behalf or help talk with them about how, they can open it up just for this one event, and maybe test out what it looks like to be able to toggle rentals on and off, so it would maybe placate the hotel lobby that feels that rentals are digging into their business, but also allow a destination of that size to be able to bring in an event of this size?
Annie, I haven't thought about it that far, but I would be I would love to. I would love to tell that story. And, as you guys know, I am all about supporting a community in creative ways. In 2018, that's when I bought my bank house. I bought a 1902 bank building in a little downtown that was tired and run down. And I think it was 9 out of 11 downtown buildings were empty, abandoned, and falling apart. And I bought one of those 9 buildings. Now, fast forward 7 years to 2025, and there is, I believe, one abandoned building left. All the others have now been rehabbed, revitalized. The biggest one has actually gone through a over $1 million renovation to become a wedding and concert venue. So a little tiny town of 1,100 people that is, when you turn into the road, you're greeted by cows behind the pens. And then your next greeting is the local bar and grill that has live music every night. And after that is the ball fields where the community comes together. Then you're within the downtown, and it has been completely revitalized because of short term rentals and people realizing, hey, this is a great boon to their economy. This is bringing in people that would have never been here before. And I would love to see that story repeated in other areas as well and see how we can all work together for the good of our neighbors and our communities.
Yeah, it's a really creative way of kind of like flipping the script of what you're doing here. I love it. That it's just a different way to attack it, right? I mean, there's a lot of different associations out there locally, statewide, nationally that are, trying to push things forward. But I think at a certain point, it's like a lot of things get stopped. But I think this is a really creative way of, infusing that knowledge and showing how much we as the professional industry really care about making sure the destination is still a wonderful place for everybody who visits there, for the people who live there, for the people not even staying in the vacation rentals. That it still promotes a great experience. So I think that's going to be really cool to see how it plays out. But I'm curious too. Have you had any pushback yet from any of the hotel associations, or like I don't know what the situation is in Kansas City, but the CVB or anything like in Myrtle Beach, I know we've got to be very careful between vacation rentals and the hotels, and we all play pretty nicely together, but there has to be a balance. I feel like it could maybe be controversial, but
Yeah, so Visit Kansas City is actually a partner with Missouri Vacation Home Alliance.
okay.
We've done a trade of partnerships in our organizations. We are working to get Visit KC as an official sponsor of the event as well. And then Visit Mo, the Missouri Division of Tourism, we actually had the director of the Division of Tourism come to our first annual event on our education day for the Alliance in Jeff City. And he's shared the tourism data in Missouri and is working very closely with us. On Missouri site, you can actually now get the hotel reports and the short-term rental reports side by side. So yeah, I was really excited when I saw that. I love seeing the fact that people are beginning to understand how we can all work together, that there are so many different types of travelers. There's, people where hotels are absolutely the best place for someone to stay. Then there are times when the bed and breakfast are absolutely the best time to stay, or a boutique inn, or grain silos, or a bank, or a large lake house. I mean, there's all different types of lodging, and we can all work together to serve the traveler and serve those who are visiting.
What a great idea. And I mean, since I've known you, I've never known you to be shy about sharing your ideas and like jumping out ahead of everybody. I mean, you've always been the queen of guest experience, but I feel like you're the queen of just taking charge and doing things that are just for the greater good. And I think that what you're doing here is going to provide a blueprint for other events and for other communities as to how they can get their alliances together and educate. And I think that speaks so much about you as an operator, you as an individual in our industry, and how much we appreciate you. But I think that it also speaks to what short-term rentals wants to be when we grow up. We want to be organized. We want to be professional. We want to be seen by, the hotel side of the business as their friend and not as the enemy. And so I think what you're doing here is going to plant a lot of seeds for a lot of growth down the road of some really great partnerships, and just always impressed by everything that you do, Tyann, and how you're always, again, always thinking of different ways to do better for all of us. So thank you for putting this together, and I can't wait to see how it just blossoms into something that is going to be good for the entire country. And then obviously it goes into Canada and Mexico. So, you're going to own all of North America when you're done here.
Well, if anybody wants to come to the Kansas City event or any of the other events that the other host cities are planning, go to hostingcrashcourse.com and you can find out more information. Would love to have you come to the event and check it out as well to see, what it is that we're doing, how we're educating. I'm really excited in Kansas City. We're also having city officials come attend and come speak. We've invited our state representatives, our state senators. So it's something that is just a fantastic team who is helping me with it. And I couldn't do it without them. I am one who I have an idea, I take hold and I run fast and furious with it. But that is also because I've got a team I know I can count on. So really excited for that and would love even more involvement from anyone else who wants to get involved, because we can find a way for you to connect with others. And even if it's just coming and learning on how you, like Annie, you said, like how someone can replicate this as well.
Mhm. Yeah, even just from the political side of involving, further higher up stakeholders, I think it is going to be massively impactful. And we ask people that on the show sometimes when we were talking to the team from Italy last year about the regulations going on over there, and we said, "Well, are you bringing in, these different, government entities to the table?" And it was like, it can be good or bad. And I think in a lot of cases, the right information is just not getting to the right people. It's the wrong information that's getting to the right people, and opinions are being formed before they really understand what's going on. But this is again, a wonderful way to show the professionalism of our industry, and that we're all really working for the better good here. So congratulations. And we're super excited. Maybe we can come down for part of it and cover it live. We've always talked about covering sports events. So
Yeah,
it'll be our first foray in that direction.
we
But
should, and we'll take you out for Kansas City barbecue. Absolutely.
oh, we love Kansas City barbecue. We went to VRMA last year. That was a highlight of the trip. But well, we will include all the information and links and ways to get in touch with you, Tyann, and for everybody in the show notes. But if you want to get in touch with Annie and I, you can go to alexandanniepodcast.com. And until next first of the month, thanks for tuning in, everybody.